So what is your favorite bottle? What do you prefer to drink?
I don't have a favorite. I have some favorite brands that I go back to because I like the taste profiles, but I'm going to try it all. I lean towards Glenmorangie and Ardbeg, two extremes, one light and fruity and one smoky and peaty.
Yes.
So one company that has two extremes, I like that. And in that same series of Glenmorangie, they've got the price point from $50 to $70 for your everyday bottles, and they've got an 18-year-old for around 100. And then they're even their 25 and 30-year-old whiskeys are falling in the 800 to 900 range, where you step to a different brand and it's 3,000 or 4,000 for the same thing. So you can stay in a decent price range of that. But I enjoy a Macallan now and then. I enjoy Springbank. I'm a big fan of Lafroig, Smoky and Peaty. I'm a really big fan of Balvenie, but those things hit my taste profile. There is no distillery that I dislike their whiskey from, and if you'll look around the room, I have bottles from every distillery, and will continue to get bottles from every distillery because I like them. So there is 3 bottles in this room right now. There was 4 in September that I've never tasted, and they are all one of one. They're the only bottle to exist. And I turned 60 in September, and I had a one of one, and we opened and drank it for my birthday.
Oh, that is really cool.
So it was amazing because no one ever tasted that bottle before. It was the one.
That is really cool.
It was fun.
Did y'all finish the bottle?
Ain't about that much left. I think I'll save it till September this year and go back to revisit it a little bit.
Nice. So what would you recommend someone new to single malts? What would you recommend they start at?
So brand new to single malts, I'm going to say you want to really stay in the light and fruity category. Most people, I don't like single malts. It's all smoky and peaty. There's 10 distilleries in the world that make smoky and peaty out of around 130. So they're just choosing wrong. They need to go to I might recommend a couple that you can buy on the shelf in Oklahoma. The Auchentoshan,
okay.
Auchentonshan, Auchentoshan. So Auchentoshan is very light and very fruity and just their basic whiskey. Glenmorangie Original, very light, very basic. So Glenmorangie, orangey, it's got that citrusy, tallest stills in the world. So it's a lighter spirit, really good. The Balvenie Caribbean cask. So it's finished in a rum cask. So if you like rum in particular, you get the Balvenie that's been finished 10 or 12 years in a bourbon barrel, and then 2 to 4 years in a rum cask. And sometimes it's 3 or 4 months that you don't always know. Those are 3 real nice, easy, light ones that you can buy pretty much in any liquor store around the country. Very common. You find yourself, you like Johnny Walker Black. You're going to like something smoky and peaty. Try a Lafroig 10 or an Ardbeg 10 or a Lagavulin 16. Those are 3 right off the top of my head that are just kind of the beginner's level of all 3 of those brands. And, you go to that. Lagavulin is kind of the mix, in my opinion, of Ardbeg and Lafroig. Lafroig is medicinal, phenolic, in your face. Smells like a hospital, right? Ardbeg is road tar and Band-Aids. You got, open a box of Band-Aids and smell it.
Yes.
And let that melt in some road tar. That's the smell. Lagavulin, neither medicinal, phenolic, nor the tarry. Kind of in the middle, kind of a lighter range. And the Lagavulin 16 is there every day. You can buy it anywhere. So those are the 3 mainstays, but there's a whole lot more on the Isle of Islay. You've got Bowmore, Bunnahabhain, Colilla, just so many. It's new distilleries that have popped up: Ardnahoe, Gartbreck, Kilholman. Just some amazing whiskeys that come from Islay that have that smoky peaty, some more than others. So the 3 I named are the 3 biggest and boldest. But if you find yourself liking that flavor profile, those are amazing.
Could you see yourself, due to smokiness from the Islay, liking a mezcal?
Very much so. I like mezcal, but I like it's going to be a higher quality mezcal, especially because I'm going to pair it with a cigar. I just got to go till, nothing stupid expensive, but it needs to not be the $25 stuff.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that if I'm drinking it neat. But if I'm going to pair it with a cigar, it's going to have enough smoke on it to offset that. But I typically don't smoke cigars with tequila unless it's an extra añejo or like the Jose Cuervo Family Traditions. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that one? It's in the multicolored box. So it's about a $200 bottle of tequila, but it's finished in a sherry cask.
Okay.
So it tastes very much like a single malt whiskey that's been finished in a sherry cask.
Yeah, I noticed there's a lot of trends in the industry. I see 4-grain coming up a lot. We just did a local 4-grain vodka. I've seen a lot of 4-grain whiskeys. But I noticed that the sherry cask, like everyone's doing the sherry cask.
It's a level of depth and sweetness that you can add to something that's spent time in a bourbon barrel and do it quickly. So, for example, if you take Glenmorangie La Santa, red wine cask, you do that like this Palo Cortado in a couple of years or less. You can really impart some big flavors. Where if you're putting it like in a dessert wine cask, like a Chateau de Kim, you're going to impart flavor, maybe not as much. Probably over a longer period of time, you get a little more. What they're doing, they're taking those barrels that have had the sherries and the wines in them, and they're recharring them. And just the longer they sit in them, the more they draw out of the wood that was there, right? Because it's empty, and they've recharred it because there's no sherry mixed in with it. It's the different types of wood you use. Mm-hmm. So we have rules, right? Bourbon has to be in a brand new oak cask that's never had anything in it before. Well, so what is there an abundance of? Bourbon barrels. So they're going to go to wine country, or they're going to go to rum, or they're going to go to Scotland to put scotch in, right? And so you're going to get that first 8 to 10 years in a bourbon barrel. Well, you don't want them to all taste the same, and they won't necessarily, but they're going to be similar, right? Bourbons are similar. Mm-hmm. They're all 51% corn. So you've got a level of sweetness. You're going to change that by changing your mash bill, or how long you leave it in the barrel, or the type of yeast you use, or where it was in the rack house, right? So
even the type of water you use.
So in Scotland, each distillery has different water sources. They have different size stills, very similar yeasts probably all across the board. But when you finish it in a different type of cask, so with sherries, you have Oloroso and Amontillado and Manzanilla. So you get those different levels. They impart different flavors. Some are bigger and bolder. Some are softer and lighter. So quickly, you can change the flavor of your whiskey if you feel the need to. Some people take Glenmorangie Original at 10 years old. It's an amazing whiskey. But put it in a Ruby Port cask, and it becomes Quinta Ruban, and a couple of years later, you've got this beautiful red colored with extra flavor in it. So finishing it in sherry casks has become popular. Another reason. There's a whole lot of sherry in the bodegas in Spain, and nobody in the United States that I know of drinks sherry anymore. Mm-hmm. In the 50s and 60s, you cooked with it, you drank with it, you drank it, you sipped on it. It's kind of gone away. So there's plenty of sherry cask barrels out there, and they're the big barrels that you get a higher volume out of them.
Okay.
So they're available. People are using them. They're also a little more expensive. You're talking about a bourbon barrel I'm going to use round numbers, about $200 a barrel for the empty barrel, and you're looking at a sherry butt at about $1,000.
Wow.
Plus. So it's more expensive, but it's also bigger. It's probably 650 or 660 liters versus our typical 130 liters, 150 liters.
So what are some of the new brands that you're drinking?
New brands?
Or newer?
In the world of Scotch, there's really nothing new under the sun. There are some new brands coming out. One that I have found lately, the former master distiller at Laphroaig has gone to a new distillery that just released their first whiskeys recently called Loch-Lee. Great whiskey, L-O-C-H. Loch means lake, L-E-A, Loch-Lee. So it's a nice brand new Scotch on the market, not been around very long. Another of the newer ones, just 20 years old now. We're talking distilleries that were from, decades, centuries ago.
Yeah, I think Macallan just turned 200.
But a decade ago, 2 decades ago, you've got like Isle of Arran, A-R-R-A-N. They make it's a great whiskey. They're around. It's on that light and fruity side as well. and it's the most picturesque. The distillery sits at the foot of a little mountain and back behind it, and the stream runs off of it. That's their water source. And so great experience. We go there and we do the little tour, and they take us to the tasting room, and everything in the tasting room is at cask strength.
Oh, wow.
So you get a pitcher of water or pitcher, and you walk to the stream, through the cow piles, and you get the water, and you come back and you use the water right out of the stream to water your cask strength whiskey down as you're tasting it in the glass. So the whole experience was cool and surreal, and it was a beautiful place. And it's actually on an island called the Isle of Arran. And it's a short ferry ride from the western coast of, so if you're in Glasgow and you go over to Port Kennecraig, which is a couple of hours to the west, and it's just a short hop over to the Isle of Arran. And so it's, it's definitely, we made a 2-day trip out of it. It was a lot of fun, a great experience.
That's really, really cool. Now, I believe when we originally talked, you talked about how you and your group have been influential in getting allocated bourbons in Oklahoma, because our laws are a little crazy here.
Scotches and bourbons. I've been collecting for about 23 years, plus 26 now. By the time gets by, 97 to now. It's already 2024, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway, in that time, there weren't a lot of people in Oklahoma buying higher end scotches in particular. So we as a group, and most of us buying them for ourselves, each individual person, and then try to get a bottle for the group so we can try it. We've been able to get whiskeys into the state of Oklahoma that never would have come here. Ardbeg, for example, has a series they do every year for Feshiel, and Oklahoma had never gotten one until 2017.
Wow.
And actually, Dr. Lumsden himself came over for an event with us, and the global brand ambassador was here, and the U.S. brand ambassador was here. Guys we've become friends with that we're able to say, hey, man, can you talk to the distributors and just see if we can get a case or two in Oklahoma, so we're not having to buy it out of state or not having to ship it over from Scotland, and we can put it in our local bars. So that has happened, and it's helped us get allocated bourbons into the state. There's some great Facebook groups out there. They're all well connected in the bourbon world here in Oklahoma. And these guys are all influential. And as our groups, we're able to say, hey, we want this for the state. And we're getting more and more items here. Every year we're getting something new. And we got some of the old Rip Van Winkle, Pappy Van Winkle stuff back in the state about 2 years ago, allocated just to restaurants, not to liquor stores. But we got some back, and we were getting none. Mm-hmm. So as we ask politely, and as we all travel and go to the different distilleries in Louisville and around the country, Nashville, we're able to say, hey, man, we're from Oklahoma, and we can't get that there. What do we need to do that? And we've got 2 or 3 real small distributors here, and we've got 2 really big distributors here. All of them are so easy to work with. Just they do their best. They get what they get, right? They ask for it. But it's really made a difference having a collective group to voice our opinion, and it has helped, especially in the last 10 years. It's really gotten better and better every year. High-end allocated single casks that we would never be getting in this state. So if you know this, Glenmorangie and Ardbeg are owned by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy.
Did not.
And so the Hennessy group, of course, with their champagnes and cognacs, have been around for a long time. They also have a widespread network and deep pockets. Mm-hmm. So that has really helped and been influential in knowing those companies and those reps. Hey, man, we'd love to have that product in Oklahoma. And they've actually been here and done a few dinners with us and let us purchase some of those items. And so we've had them behind our bars. So we've had them in our private collection. And it's all of those relationships going back 26 years that matter.
That's really nice. Now, as you talk about groups, you actually have what's called Bourbon Heads?
Bourbon Heads. So we started this last year. We just had our 1-year anniversary in Nashville, Tennessee. And Bourbon Heads is a non-fungible token. You have to buy a token. Tokens are $2,500. And it's not about owning a token. It's not about owning a picture with a guy holding a bottle of whiskey or a girl holding a bottle of whiskey. It's about the experience. So we're doing pop-ups around the country. Now, we just did one in Nashville. We did it at the Southern Collective. And we picked out 2 barrels to bottle for our members. We've picked out well, I don't know, 15 barrels or so far in the last year for our membership. We've done pop-ups in Austin, in a couple in Nashville, Louisville, Las Vegas. So this was well attended. We had 40 or 50 of our members show up. We booked out a couple of restaurants. We booked out Tootsie's in Nashville for the evening and the VIP. Put the groups together. Let us all get to know each other and experience. And all 40 people got to choose those 2 casks, and we all voted. And, we taste 6 or 8 casks, and everybody gets to vote. And whatever the vote is, that's the cask we buy.
All right,
So it's a whole experience. You're at this distillery. You get to go in and pull the bung out of the cask and put the whiskey dog in it and draw it out and put it in people. So you get the experience of all this. And Bourbon Heads is allowing us, the whole reason we started this is to create experiences around the country for people that love whiskey. So that being said, we're opening our very first bar in Louisville.
Wow.
On Whiskey Row,
nice.
Just down from Angel's Envy. We will be open sometime between March and June of next year, just, ordinances in city and all that. It will be called The Strut. So the alley that got closed off, but for Angel's Envy to expand, that alley used to be called Goat Strut Alley. They had goat races in there. The guys would come in and they would be there off the river and they would do goat races. So, and it was called the Goat Strut. So we're naming it, stay with the local history, local people involved, so it's going to be called the Strut. So it will be a regular whiskey bar, cocktail bar, and if you're a member of Bourbon Heads, your NFT will unlock the door. You can go in the back, a little seating area for about 20 people, and there's a special little window that you can order the rare whiskeys at retail.
So Roger,
and there will be a humidor.
Birthday.
Yeah.
And you can smoke on the patio.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's coming soon.
I have not lived.
All about the experience.
All about the experience.
Yes.
So talking a little bit more about Oklahoma, we've got several distilleries around here making everything from vodka to bourbon. What are your thoughts on the Oklahoma industry? Will it ever have an impact on the industry?
That's a hard question because we have a lot of microbreweries and micro distilleries here. The microbreweries are closing at a disturbing rate.
Yes.
If your product is not above and beyond, you will not survive. Even if your product is above and beyond and you don't have deep pockets or a backer, you will not survive because there's too many. And if you had 4 real good microbreweries or 4 real good distilleries and you had an okay product, you'll do okay. You'll stay in business. But when you've got 30 and your product is not as good as the top 4 or top 5, you won't survive. And that's not here, neither here nor there, because you might love their product. It might be your favorite whiskey in the state or your favorite gin in the state. It might not be mine.
Right.
So you're going to have something that's got a mass appeal. We've got the Hochtown Distillery down Broken Bow. They're making a great product. They're in an area over there that there are no other distilleries. I think they'll do extremely well, and they have a really good product. Their cast strength stuff is really good. We've got a couple here in the city that have been in business for a while, and I think they're going to stay in business. But we've also, we've had 5 breweries close in the last 18 months. And that hurts the whole industry.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'll say we've had 50 restaurants and bars close in the last 18 months as well. And they're closing faster than they're opening.
Yeah.
So is it a sign of the economy? Probably. And it's a sign of, you can't find any help. You can't pay what it's going to take. You're going to wear people out, the ones that will work. So a combination of the economy, people aren't eating out as much, can't find any staff. You do one thing wrong and you're crucified on social media.
Right.
The cancel culture that we live in, whether it's good or bad, it's real. It's present.
No, that is preach. Oh man, this has been great. You're also, not only do you help Oklahoma in getting allocated spirits, but you're also a big charity.
I am. kind of got a philosophy. I step outside of it once in a while. I like to do charitable events and either donating bottles of whiskey and cigars and kits I put together, or I go and actually present the whiskeys for them, and or I donate private tastings in the Whiskey Vault or a private event at Stag Lounge, which is one of the bars that I'm a part owner in here in town. And I also do other bars. I don't care really where it's at, if it's part of our little group. And I like to support organizations that give their money to children and to veterans, because my saying is children don't have a choice and veterans made a choice. Yeah. We'll step outside of that once in a while, but I stay pretty true to that because, I really like helping the kids. And, I've got lots of family members and lots of friends that were veterans that made great sacrifices. So if I can do things to help their widows, those that have passed, and their children, or if I can do things to help them with the VA or with their health care, I'm all about that. So I'm involved in the Folds of Honor. It's an event that helps the children of fallen veterans or deceased veterans to get their children through college. So it takes the burden off the family and moves forward. Involved in the Oklahoma Scotch Charity Auction. Every year, present the whiskeys for that. Every year, they choose a different children's charity. Okay. So it might be the hospital at Bethany. There's actually an organization, Truckers Against Children Being Kidnapped and taken out of the country. Child trafficking is what I was trying to say. Truck drivers around the country have an organization to watch out for that. So we support that. We support local schools that need a boost or for scholarships so that kids can go to maybe a different level of school than their economic structure will allow. Anything we can do to help the kids. And at the end of the day, I'm meeting new people and I'm drinking with them. So it's a really great way to do a charitable thing.
It really, and that's how we're here. You actually met Roger at the Scotch tasting. I think we had first heard of you at the Whiskey and, was it Whiskey and Blues?
Whiskey, Blues, and Q.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great event.
It really
do that every year. We do a little VIP beforehand and present 3 or 4 whiskeys and have a cigar. And all of that every year also goes to a different children's charitable organization. And it's a great time. It's put on by one of the gentlemen that puts it on, Mark Mann's actually, I think, running for House of Representatives for the state of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Or Senate, I don't remember, but he's running for office this term. The other couple of guys that are involved are one's an attorney, one's a jeweler. So it's really a very eclectic group of people. And it's just such a great event. They've got blues music and they bring out a whole spread of barbecue and raffle off items. But the cool thing is they probably got 20 or 25 beer and liquor vendors in the courtyard, and you get to sample it all for price of admission.
It was delicious.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was a great time.
It's a good way. I mean, I think it was like $75, I think, for the tickets. But it's so much. You really can't drink it all.
No, you can't.
It's a good way to try different things.
Yeah, I learned going to these big whiskey events where they're serving 500-ish different whiskeys in the course of a couple of days. Go try the things you've never tried and leave the rest of it alone. Yeah. Or you won't be able to walk out of there.
Smart money.
That is true.